This is Gene Key's The Venus Sequence. I want to officially welcome you to the sphere of attraction. I want to take a moment to have us land together in this space. Go ahead and close your eyes for just a moment. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it land low in your body. And exhale gently. And again. No need to go anywhere. Just arrive. Now gently open your eyes, and without moving too quickly, just start to look around the space you're in. Your room, your environment. Let your eyes land on different objects. Everything you see around you, at some point, you chose it. You brought it into your life. Even the things you didn't consciously think about still made their way into your field. Let your eyes settle on one object. Don't overthink it. Just the one that naturally draws your attention. And as you look at it, ask yourself quietly, why this? What about this object made me say yes to it? Was it how it looks, how it feels, what it represents, how it makes me feel? Just notice. Now close your eyes again and hold that object in your awareness. Not the physical object, but the feeling of it. The attraction fear says the same way you bring objects into your life, you bring people into your life. Not always consciously, but energetically, emotionally, magnetically. Think of a person, someone who feels magnetic, easy, charged, or even confusing. Whatever naturally comes up. And just like you did with the object, ask yourself, what is it about this person that I said yes to? not the story, not what you think it should be, but what you feel. What is it about this person that I said yes to? Where do you feel that in your body? Stay there for a moment. No fixing, no figuring it out, just noticing. Your attraction sphere is not random. It's not about luck. It's not about getting it right. It's about what your field is ready to experience and what your heart is ready to open through. And when you're ready, take a breath and come back into the space. What we just did with that object and then with that person, that's the doorway into the attraction sphere. Because attraction isn't just about who we like, it's about what we're resonating with. Last month, we looked at our purpose in relationship, which was a pickup point from our activation sequence, which we spent the last 4 months before that talking about that journey. This month, we move into the attraction sphere. The attraction sphere helps us understand why certain relational patterns keep finding us, why some people feel magnetic and others feel repelling, and how our emotional field participates in what we call in. It is not about blame. It is not saying you caused everything. It is saying your field carries a frequency, and that frequency has a lesson, a wound, and a possibility hidden inside of it. This sphere is deeply connected to desire, vulnerability, sexuality, emotional patterning, and the heart. Not sexuality only in the physical sense, but in the sense of creative life force, magnetism, and how we merge with others energetically. The attraction sphere shows what kind of emotional or relational wound pattern lives in your attractor field. What you may magnetize through that field also shows up in your attraction sphere. What that pattern is trying to teach you. I'm going to take that again. The attraction sphere shows what kind of emotional, relational wound pattern lives in your attractor field. What you may magnetize through that field, what that pattern is trying to teach you, how the wound transforms as your heart opens. Your attraction sphere doesn't just describe who you attract, it describes what your field is trying to heal through attraction. As a reminder, you may recognize this from when we opened the Venus sequence last month, that the sphere is the classroom. It's the overarching theme that we're going to explore each month. And the gene key is your teacher. They made the curriculum for you for this Earth School resignation. It's the specific archetype of your personal chart that guides you on a journey of shadow, gift, and city. And the line is how you behave under pressure. As we navigate this path, feel free to take a screenshot of this. The shadow will be showing us places we can invite breath and pause instead of automatic response of reaction. This is the unconscious wound pattern in the field. It often shows up through repeating relationship dynamics, emotional triggers, attraction that feels compelling but complicated, desire mixed with fear, avoidance, projection, or unmet need. The shadow is the place where our wound is still trying to find wholeness outside of us. The gift is what becomes available when awareness enters the pattern, where we can respond from love and learn from our previously programmed fear responses. The gift often looks like greater self-responsibility, more discernment, safer and more conscious relating. There's less projection, there's less grasping, clinging energy, and there's more openness without abandoning yourself. It's my favorite realization in the gift. The city is the highest mystical frequency of the pattern. It's this transcendent realization that happens as you're living in alignment. The city is where the wound is no longer organizing the field. The energy becomes pure presence, pure love, pure spiritualized life force. And you'll notice that there are some questions here. I welcome you to screenshot them, to really, as we explore these spheres, these curriculums, these lessons deeply, when it feels like you don't have it anymore in you, asking yourself this question, especially in this sphere, and when we get to the mental sphere, these are questions that can help you reach for that higher frequency that is possible for you. It's literally written in your DNA. Gene keys. All right, so as a reminder, the gene key, which we'll talk about at the end, tells us what the wound pattern is, the frequencies we can tune ourselves to while navigating the lessons specific to fulfilling our soul's purpose in this lifetime. The line, which we're about to dive into now, tells us how our wound pattern tends to behave. So the line 1, this is all about looking at the relationship between feeling empty and feeling whole, feeling wholesome. The shadow theme is sterility, and the gift is fertility, feeling like anything is possible, feeling whole, feeling abundant. This line is asking, is this connection nourishing and alive? Or is it a dead-end loop trying to fill emptiness? At the shadow, attraction can be about trying to escape emptiness. At the gift, relationships become fertile, meaningful, and life-giving. The contemplation here is, does this connection actually feed life in me? Think about the phrasing of that. I remember I gave an example a while back where my yoga teacher invited me to imagine all of my cells smiling. This is the contemplation here. Does this does this connection actually feed life in me? Does it actually feed life in me? Or am I using it to avoid emptiness? So an example, we're going to play with a few of these, not all of these, and then we'll Q&A play with your specific gene key. We're going to play with this line 1 and looking at it through the lens of the 50, gene key 50, which has the shadow energy of corruption, the gift energy of equilibrium, and the highest frequency is harmony. Line 1, as we know, has sterility into fertility, emptiness into wholeness. And so the wound here is about something in the inner system feeling off, misaligned, or not quite right. And the line 1 asks, is this connection actually nourishing, or is it empty? So this might look like attracting relationships that seem to be fine on the surface, but underneath, they don't go anywhere. They don't deepen, or they feel a little empty, even if nothing is technically wrong. Or they might even attract a really good partner, but because something inside of them isn't settled yet, they can't fully receive it. So the relationship still ends up feeling sterile. The pattern here is that the field is slightly off, so it attracts connections that don't fully land. Not punishment, just feedback. And the shift in the gift, this gift of equilibrium, as they come back into their own inner alignment, their attraction field changes. And suddenly they begin to attract relationships with depth, emotional nourishment, creative or heart-centered connection. Not perfect, but wholesome. The line 1, again, has to ask itself this contemplation in relation to the gene key, the teacher. Does this relationship, does this connection actually feed life in me? Or am I using it to avoid emptiness? The line 2. This is looking at the feeling of inadequacy into the gift of liberation, or not the gift, excuse me, the feeling of liberation. And so the shadow theme here is lust. The gift is passion. This line is about desire and the fear beneath the desire. At the shadow, desire may be mixed with feelings of inadequacy, urgency, or this need to escape discomfort. At the gift energy, that liberated energy, desire becomes heart-led passion. The contemplation for this line 2 is, what is underneath the desire? Is this true passion, or is it fear trying to move? What's underneath this? Curiosity is our friend. Contemplation is our friend. We are going to break down line 2. We're going to take a look at gene key number 5. Someone in this group's favorite gene key. They like to talk about the shadow of impatience. So gene key 5 has the shadow of impatience, the gift of patience, and the city frequency of timelessness. In a line 2, we're looking at the energy of lust into passion, and the feeling of inadequacy into a feeling of liberation. The wound is around timing, urgency, and trust in life's natural rhythm. That's the 5 energy. This impatience stems from this distrust in life's natural rhythm. And so the line 2 adds in desire, attraction, chemistry. This might look like feeling a strong attraction, but it's not quite mutual. Or rushing into something because it feels right now. Or wanting something so quickly that it burns out before it can even deepen. Or even they feel the spark, but don't let it breathe long enough to become real passion. Give it the space. So the pattern is impatience plus desire equals this chasing energy, rushing, misaligned attraction in that impatience. The field is saying, I need this now. Instead of patience would say, I trust what's meant for me will unfold. The shift in the gift, when this shifts, the person with this energy, they begin to slow down. They let desire build instead of forcing it. And what they attract becomes more mutual, more grounded, and more deeply aligned. That contemplation again, line 2 asks, what is underneath the desire? Is this true passion or is it fear trying to move? All right, looking at the line 3. This is moving the energy of melodrama into this energy of adventure, fascination, wonder. The shadow is promiscuity, and the gift theme is playfulness. This line learns through movement, experimentation, mistakes, and emotional drama. At the shadow, it may attract inconsistency, triangles, chaos, or repeated relational messiness. At the gift, that same energy becomes light, playful, curious, less burdened. And so the contemplation here with this line 3 is, where am I creating drama or attracting it so I can avoid deeper intimacy? Really strong contemplation here. Line 4, we're looking at the energy of distance, that feeling of feeling distance into that feeling of intimacy. The shadow theme is frigidity, and the gift theme is romance. This line often protects itself by freezing, distancing, or appearing quote unquote fine. At the shadow, the wound gets hidden under detachment or emotional coolness. At the gift, the heart softens and real intimacy becomes possible. The contemplation here with this line 4 is, where have I gone cold, protected, or unavailable when what I actually needed was tenderness? Tenderness there. Moving on to our line 5. Got a couple of those in the house tonight. This is moving the energy of manipulation in the shadow sense into this energy of mastery. The shadow theme is entrapment, and the gift theme is sensuality. So this line can use sexuality, charm, image, or emotional control unconsciously to manage their own vulnerability. At the shadow, there may be subtle power dynamics or self protective performance at play. At the gift, this becomes deeply embodied, healing sensual mastery. The contemplation here is, where am I trying to control the field instead of trusting vulnerability? Just trusting it, not trying to fix it. You know, it's 5 lines. We like fixers, solutions people. So the example that we're going to look at with this line 5 is in the gate 43, which has the shadow of deafness, the gift of insight, and the highest frequency is epiphany. And so, as a reminder, this is moving out of the energy of entrapment into sensuality, out of manipulation into mastery. And so, the wound here is about not hearing or trusting inner truth. There's a deafness. And the line 5 adds power into the mix, projection, influence, control dynamics. This might look like using connection or sexuality to stay in control, avoiding deeper vulnerability by keeping things on a surface level, or feeling like you're leading the dynamic, but actually not fully open. Or they might attract people who project onto them. And instead of breaking that pattern, they get caught in it. So the pattern is using attraction to avoid truth instead of letting truth transform the connection, change it, alchemize it. Truth alchemizes it. It harmonizes things. It's one of my favorite things to watch. It's becoming one of my favorite things to watch. Still doing the nervous system work on that. And so the pattern, like I said, it's using attraction to avoid truth instead of letting truth transform the connection. And the course makes a note of something, that sexuality can actually block their breakthrough. And so the gift in the shift, when this shift happens, they stop using connection to stay in control and start allowing themselves to be seen, fully seen, what's behind that projection field. And their energy, when they do that, becomes deeply sensual, very intimate. It becomes grounded. It's very healing for others to be in that aura. And there's this natural influence without force. The line 5, the question asks again, where am I trying to control the field instead of trusting vulnerability? Or a little bit simpler said sometimes is, am I using attraction to stay in control or allowing it to open me into truth? And then we have our line 6, moving out of this very resigned, conservative energy into this ecstatic energy. The shadow theme is disappointment, and the gift is innocence. And this line often carries early disappointment and can unconsciously expect future disappointment too, especially I've seen in my experience when they have the gate 24, not in this sphere, but just in the mix as well. And so at the shadow, the field can radiate quiet resignation. At the gift, innocence returns, not as naivete, but as openness to possibility again. The contemplation here is, where have I decided this is just how love is, instead of staying open to a deeper possibility? It's for the line 6. So do you see what is happening here? The gene key gives us the deeper theme, but the line shows us how it actually plays out as emptiness or nourishment, as urgency or patience, as control or openness. And all of it shows up through what we attract. You're not just attracting people. Your attraction sphere is showing you patterns that mirror where your energy is still organizing itself. It's showing you where your field is still learning to feel safe in love. And as you become more conscious of that, your magnetism actually begins to change. Not because you're forcing it to, not because you're thinking differently, but because your field becomes cleaner, softer, truer. And this is where what we often call the law of attraction starts to shift, because it's not just about what you think or even what you feel in passing. It's about what you're anchored in. Feelings can be signals. Thoughts can be signals. But they're not always reliable compasses. Your real compass is the part of you that knows who you are. Your center, your truth, your heart. So as you move through the next few weeks, I want to leave you with this. What becomes possible when I let my desire be led by my heart instead of by fear, urgency, or uncertainty? I don't want you to just think about your attraction sphere. I want you to observe it, to notice what draws your attention, who draws your energy, what feels magnetic, what feels repelling. And instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what in me is resonating with this? I'm about to open the field for Q&A. We're going to be inviting in, as we look at your gene key and your line, these contemplations, the essence of these contemplations. So what is the shadow pattern of the gene key itself? How does the line tend to express that pattern relationally? I'm going to definitely be curious on your insights of your personal experience there. Do you see this more in yourself and what you attract, or do you see it in both? What is the deeper vulnerability underneath it? And what would the gift look like in lived experience over the next month? As you know, we do these gene key integration labs once a month. And next month, we will be moving into our mental defenses. How do those show up in relationship? We contemplated our purpose. We're now looking at, okay, we know our purpose. We know it on an individual soul incarnation level, and we've explored it through relationship. Okay, now that we have that understanding, what are we attracting in? And then, like I said, next month, mental defenses. Once we attract it in, how are we actually meeting it? Because that has to do with your timeline, your imprinting period from 0 to 7, your modeling period from 7 to 14, and then your socialization period from 14 to 21. So it's where we're headed. But for now, we're here in the attraction sphere. So I'm going to stop my share, open up for Q&A, and get you your gene key and line.